That third quarter, and the Dallas Wings turned that into 14 points.
That because she was always about passing, and I'm glad to see her shooting more. And she said, I hope she has another big one tonight.
The warm summer sun stretched long, honeyed shadows across the immaculate fairways of Cedar Ridge Country Club on the afternoon when a remark made in passing quietly set an extraordinary chain of events in motion. One that would alter expectations, challenge assumptions, and ignite a young girl's belief in what might be possible. Professional golfer Jackson Hayes, relaxed and self-assured amid the polished calm of a charity event, stood chatting beside WNBA sensation Caitlin Clark, whose presence had drawn as much curiosity as admiration from the assembled guests. With a careless laugh that carried just a little too far, he remarked that basketball stars rarely transitioned well to golf, that the skills were entirely different, and that breaking 90 on a course like Cedar Ridge would be unlikely even with a childhood background in the game. It was the sort of comment delivered lightly, almost thoughtlessly, yet edged with condescension, the kind that lingered in the air long after the speaker had moved on. Caitlin, fresh from a record-breaking season defined by deep three-pointers and unshakable composure under pressure, met the remark with a courteous smile that masked the spark behind her eyes. She explained calmly that she had played since the age of 6, taught by her father, and still picked up a club during the off-season, though she would never claim to be a professional. Jackson's chuckle followed, louder now, his doubt made public, and though Caitlin did not rise to the provocation, her quiet response that perhaps she would accept the challenge carried a resolve that went unnoticed by most. What Jackson did not see was the small figure standing nearby, 12-year-old Sofia Rodriguez, clutching her father's hand, listening intently. Sophia, the daughter of one of the club's groundskeepers, had accompanied her father to work during the summer holidays, too shy to ask for autographs like the other children, content instead to observe from the edges, where had grown accustomed to being unseen. The exchange lodged itself in her mind, a moment where confidence was tested and dignity preserved, and though none of them realized it then, it would come to mean far more than a friendly sporting wager. 3 weeks later, Caitlin returned to Cedar Ridge alone, stepping into the pro shop with purposeful ease and surprising the head professional, Miguel Santos, who asked whether she had a tea time. She did not. Instead, she asked for lessons, explaining that she needed to sharpen her game for a challenge she fully intended to meet. Miguel, intrigued, agreed, and thus began a quiet routine that unfolded in the pale light before dawn. 3 mornings a week, while the course still slept. Caitlin brought with her the discipline of elite athletics and a foundation built in childhood. Yet golf demanded something different. Patience, precision, restraint. Miguel worked on her consistency, her course management, the fine details that separated casual play from genuine competitiveness. She listened closely, absorbing each correction, acknowledging that while basketball allowed for instinctive adjustments in motion, golf required absolute commitment the moment the swing began. Some mornings were triumphant, others deeply frustrating, with errant shots finding water hazards and muscles aching for movements her body had never repeated with such intensity. Still, she returned, driven not only by the memory of Jackson's doubt, but by something quieter and more profound. Unbeknown to Miguel and never acknowledged aloud, Sophia watched these sessions from behind the maintenance shed, perched on an overturned bucket, eyes wide with wonder. She saw a woman celebrated for mastery in one sport willingly struggle, learn, fail, and try again in another, and it stirred something powerful within her. Caitlin noticed the girl too, catching glimpses of her small, attentive presence, and though they never spoke, that silent witness lent weight to every swing, every early morning, every moment of perseverance. When 6 weeks had passed, Caitlin felt ready. She reached out to Jackson, who barely remembered the exchange but eagerly accepted what he assumed would be an effortless exhibition match, the publicity alone appealing enough. On the day of the club tournament, Cedar Ridge buzzed with anticipation. Members murmured behind manicured hands, skeptical and faintly amused, convinced they were about to witness a well-intentioned embarrassment. Jackson arrived in confident style, his equipment immaculate, his manner relaxed, offering Caitlin a patronizing smile and the promise of generous strokes, which she declined without hesitation, insisting they play straight up. As they stepped onto the first tee, a small crowd gathered, media lenses glinting in the sunlight. Jackson's opening drive was flawless, soaring down the center of the fairway, and he turned with a grin that invited admiration. Caitlin followed, her stance measured, her breathing steady, the lessons of the past weeks settling into muscle memory. The crowd hushed as she swung, the movement fluid and powerful, echoing the grace that had redefined women's basketball, and the ball launched cleanly into the sky, tracing a line of intent and belief that spoke not only to athletic capability, but to the quiet truth that determination, humility, and opportunity can redraw the boundaries of what we imagine possible.
That's all you can ask for early in May, is just to continue to get better, and that's what this guy's doing.
Boy, Carrington is on fire. She's got the last 7 points.
The sharp, unmistakable crack of driver meeting ball cut cleanly through the morning air, silencing the last murmurs of skepticism as Caitlin's shot rose high and true, sailing past Jackson's drive and rolling to a confident stop some 15 yards beyond it, leaving the assembled crowd momentarily stunned into stillness before Miguel, watching from the back with quiet pride, began to clap, his slow, deliberate applause spreading through the onlookers like a dawning realization that they were witnessing something unexpected. What unfolded over the next few holes challenged a deeply rooted assumption about sport itself, that excellence is confined to narrow boundaries, when in truth the qualities that define champions, discipline, adaptability, resilience, and an appetite for learning, often translate seamlessly across arenas if given space to breathe. By the third hole, it was evident that Caitlin's opening drive was no fluke. What surprised the spectators was not merely that she could play golf competently, but how rapidly she had elevated a childhood pastime into something approaching competitive caliber through relentless practice and focus. Her short game betrayed her relative inexperience at times, yet her drives and approach shots displayed striking accuracy, and when mistakes came, she recovered with the mental toughness of an athlete accustomed to hostile crowds, ticking clocks, and unforgiving pressure. Jackson's initial amusement gave way to confusion and then a simmering frustration he struggled to mask, and by the 9th hole, with Caitlin trailing by only 2 strokes, his complexion had darkened with discomfort. During the walk between holes, he accused her of having practiced seriously, as though dedication itself were a breach of some unspoken agreement. Caitlin's reply was calm and unwavering. He had challenged her, and she had accepted. It was on the 12th hole, however, that the story took an entirely different turn. After hooking a shot badly in a wooded area, Caitlin went searching and noticed a small figure half hidden behind a tree, eyes wide with anxious admiration. It was Sofia Rodriguez, watching closely, her presence suddenly impossible to ignore. When Caitlin gently asked whether she was following the tournament, Sofia nodded, admitting in a barely audible voice that she had been watching the early morning practices. Asked why, the girl glanced down at her scuffed trainers and confessed that people said girls like her could not be good at golf, the unspoken reference to her background and skin color hanging heavily between them. In that moment, something shifted inside Caitlin. The round ceased to be about proving a professional wrong and became something far more meaningful. She invited Sofia to walk with her for the remainder of the match, and the astonished joy that lit the girl's face was more rewarding than any scorecard. With Sofia quietly by her side, Caitlin played the closing holes with renewed clarity and purpose, her focus sharpened by the knowledge that she was now carrying someone else's hope alongside her own. On the 18th green, she faced a daunting 20-foot putt to tie the match as members crowded the clubhouse patio, watching what had transformed into an improbable spectacle. Jackson stood rigid, the ease of his earlier confidence replaced by visible tension, while Sofia leaned in and whispered words of belief so softly that only Caitlin could hear them. The ball rolled smoothly, breaking gently left before dropping into the cup, and the eruption of applause that followed was not merely for the athletic feat, but for the narrative unfolding before their eyes. A basketball player refusing to be confined by expectation, meeting a seasoned golfer on equal terms, and doing so with grace. Yet the real impact of that day emerged afterwards, in quieter conversations beyond the green. In the clubhouse, amid animated discussion of the match, Caitlin sought out Miguel and Sofia's father, Eduardo Rodriguez, a man whose weathered hands bore the marks of long days maintaining fairways he would never play. Caitlin spoke plainly, noting Sofia's clear interest in the game and suggesting proper lessons and equipment, only for Eduardo to reply with gentle resignation that such things were impossible for their family, gesturing around at a world that was not built with them in mind. Caitlin explained that her foundation was rooted in education, nutrition, and access to sport, and that it existed precisely to bridge such divides. 2 days later, Sophia held her first properly fitted set of clubs, her hands trembling as disbelief gave way to wonder, while Miguel agreed to provide lessons funded by the foundation. What followed exceeded even Caitlin's hopes. Sophia did not merely enjoy golf. She possessed a natural aptitude that blossomed rapidly once nurtured, and the transformation reached far beyond her swing. The shy child who once hid behind trees began to stand taller,